Hi guys, and welcome to my showcase and tutorial for Skirmish or Paintball, whatever I decide to call the mod. So this is a pretty flexible plugin actually. Involves a couple of RustEdit prefabs that I've created, but it also allows you to create your own with relative ease. In this video I'm going to cover how to implement the existing, or the ones I've created already, into your map. So the plugin can automatically find them, anchor them, and add them to the playable arenas list. And then in another video, I'm going to show you how to cover, we're going to cover showing you how to actually create maps and actually add these into existing maps if you want to kind of create your own little arenas. But for now, let's get into the RustEdit side of things. So we're going to just load up an existing map that I've got generated. So just want a random procedural 4K map. So we're just going to load this into RustEdit. Now I've already got the prefabs extracted into my map, so into my RustEdit files. Now if you're not familiar with how to do this, what you want to do is you want to navigate to your RustEdit folder. So mine is in my C drive. Yours will be probably in program files or something like that, but I've got mine in the default directory of C drive. And then you want to look for custom prefabs. If you haven't got a folder called custom prefabs, call it custom prefabs, all capital cased. And then what you want to do is you want to extract the files from your where is she? Hang on. You want to extract the prefabs into your folder. So it'll create two new folders, so sewer and warehouse. And that is all she wrote. That's all you need to do. So once you've basically done that, you're ready to implement these into your map. So I'm just going to pause this while we wait for the map to load up, and then I'll be back when she's done. Okay, so we've got the map open now. So a couple of things we're going to do here is we're going to press G to open up the map, for those unfamiliar with RustEdit. You can hold down right click and drag the map around in order to maneuver it, and you can double click on a location on the map to teleport there, and you can press G to close the map. So what we're going to do is effectively just going to find somewhere. It doesn't really matter where at all we put the map. It's just as long as we don't interrupt the tunnels or the train systems, because we're going to put these quite far down into the map. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our prefabs tool here, select prefabs, and we're going to type in sewer. What did I call this one? Skirmish sewer. So it's called Skirmish Sewers, and whatever the version number is here. We're just going to double click this while looking at the ground and drag it out. So you can see here, this is the arena. Nice and easy. So what we're going to do with this arena is we're going to move it into underground. So first thing we want to do is we want to disable the water. Let's just make it a bit easy for us to see. So untick show water. We're going to click on our prefab. We're going to fly down underground. I'm just going to drag this nice and low down. So I mean, usually around sort of minus 180, 200. It's a pretty good place. Basically, the further down it is, the less it's going to render above it. So yeah, just kind of use your own judgment there. And that is pretty much it. So this is now in the map, ready to go. The way this actually works is it uses two entities to anchor itself. So the entities need to be a unique combination for each individual arena. You can see here we've got a Pookie Bear and a deployed chair, which is what we use to anchor the entities to determine where the spawn locations and everything else are. So while we're down here as well, we want to implement the other arena, which is Skirmish-warehouse. So we're just going to double click this, and we're just going to move this over somewhere close by, but obviously not right next to each other or right on top of each other. You can see here, this one actually has the lobby. So if you're familiar with the video, this is actually the lobby that players spawn into. So if you don't put this prefab, if you choose not to use the warehouse prefab, you will need to set the lobby location manually inside of in your server with the /sk set lobby command. Otherwise, this will automatically set up the lobby for you as long as it's able to detect this warehouse. Which again, we've got our anchor entities here. We've got a Pookie Bear and a letterbox. That is all we need to do. We have to simply put these two buildings inside of the prefab, inside of our map, sorry, and we can save it. So we'll go to File, Save As. We'll go, I don't know, Skirmish tutorial v1. We'll save that. And that's all you need to do. So from the plugin side of view, you just simply want to have Event Helper, the Event Helper plugin, which is required. You can find that on CodeFling or Lone Design, depending on where you've purchased from. It's a free plugin. It's required for running any of my arena plugins, such as Scuba Arena or Hunger Games or Fishing Competition or any of the other ones. So make sure that's on your server ready to go, and then you also want to drag the Skirmish Oxide file across into your Oxide plugins folder. It should be pretty straightforward if you've ever installed a mod. So once you've done that, let's load this up on our server and see if she works. Okay, so we are in the map now. You can see here, this is the map we've just in RustEdit with. All we need to do really to check to see if Skirmish is working is type in sk start 30, and it's going to start the game. So you can see Warehouse Arena will start in 30 seconds. Type sk join to start. The game type is free for all. So I'll type in sk start. You can see he will teleport it into the arena, which is just under our warehouse prefab. And then we're just going to wait for the game to start here. And then when we get started, it's going to teleport us into a random spawn position inside of the warehouse arena. So the spawn positions are all over the place. There are chances that players will spawn next to each other, as you might have seen from the demo video. But that's pretty much it. Everyone gets equipped with a different rad suit depending on the event type. So it's all configurable, but by default, the Nomad suit represents a free-for-all round, and then the green and blue suits represent the team deathmatch rounds. Green's one team, blue is another. But again, you can adjust this. The damage protection means absolutely nothing because it's to do with the snowball actually landing a hit, giving a paint marker to the victim, and then if you take 7 hits by default, you're out. So every single time you're hit with a paintball, that's effectively a life or a life lost. When you lose all 7 lives, that's it, you're dead. So you can see here it's pretty straightforward. The game will pick randomly between the game modes, so free for all and team deathmatch. There is a configuration option to have one happen more than the other, depending on which way or which one you prefer. So if you just want it to be exclusively team deathmatch, you can make that 100% chance, or if you want to make it 100% free for all, you can do that. But we'll go into the configuration side of things now real quick. The way this works is any arena that you have in the server that the plugin is able to pick up automatically, or that you've added into the configuration, it'll pick a random arena, and that'll be your player area for the duration of the game. And then it'll change each time the game starts. So last man standing wins, and if it's a team deathmatch, there's anyone on that team is a winner, or anyone left alive on that team is a winner, depending on your configuration options as well. So that's all there is to it, guys. Nice and simple. We'll go into the configuration side of things to end the video off, and yeah, I'll see you in the config. Okay, so we're in the configuration settings for Skirmish. Again, like everything else in this plugin, it is pretty straightforward. We'll take it line by line, and I'll explain what each thing does. Oh, that's the wrong config. Alright, so maximum hits a player can take before they are out. Now this is inclusive, so when they hit the last number, or the last digit in this number, it basically teleports them out of the game and counts as them losing. So by default it's 7 hits, so on the 7th hit they get removed from the game. Maximum ammo capacity for the snowball launcher in the event, so this is how much the snowball launcher is actually able to reload up to. So by default the snowball launcher will allow up to 50, a magazine capacity of 50. This is set to 10 by default to really give that holy shit moment when it comes to reloading. Minimum players required to start the event. Now this is default 2. I just set it to 1 for the test purposes of testing and demoing. But basically this requires at least 2 players in order to join. In order to actually function. Otherwise it kicks everyone out of the lobby if the timer runs out. How many seconds do the players have to register before the event starts? This is default to 300 seconds or 5 minutes. So this is basically when the game gets announced. They have 5 minutes before the game actually starts, and anyone who's registered to play and is in the lobby will be teleported to the game arena after this period of time. chance for a game to be free-for-all instead of TDM. So this is that configuration option I mentioned earlier. If you want it to be entirely free-for-all, set the value to 100. So this will spawn no team deathmatch games whatsoever. If you want it to be entirely team deathmatch, set the value to 0. If you want it to be 50-50, set it to 50. So effectively it's a percentage value of how often it's going to be free-for-all versus team deathmatch. Maximum time that a player can run for the game can run for, which is 1,800 seconds. It's about 30 minutes, I think. So after 30 minutes, it's just simply going to end the game, even if there's still players left in there. The sound effect, which is when the player receives a hit from a paintball, this plays on that player's client. This is client side, so only that particular player who's been hit will be able to hear that marker. Reward dead players on winning teams. So this is if it's a team deathmatch and then players, obviously players who have died during the round or been eliminated during the round, have their team still win, they will still receive a reward for contributing towards their team. Free-for-all suit. This is the short name item for the free-for-all suit. So obviously the nomad suit, like I mentioned before. Team Deathmatch Team 1 suit, which is the Scientist Peacekeeper suits, and then Team Deathmatch 2 suits, so Team 2 Deathmatch suits are the regular blue Scientist suits. Clear all data on map wipe. This basically removes all of the anchor data, all of the player prize information, etc., but doesn't remove all your prizes that you add in here. It just simply removes all of the player data. Run the game automatically with Event Helper. If you're unfamiliar with what this means, I highly recommend just leaving it set to true. Basically what this does is it allows it makes the Event Helper plugin responsible for running the games itself. So if you're running any other of my arena plugins or any other arena plugins that have been built off Event Helper, it'll queue them up automatically and play them consecutively rather than concurrently. How often should we start a game if not being managed through Event Helper? So this is how often should we actually launch a new game. I think this number is 2 hours. I had to put a number on it. So it's about 2 hours or 7,200 seconds. And commands to prevent when the player is at an event. So by default I've got kit in there, so players can't redeem kits. Another one you might want to put in might be commands like TPA if you run teleporting, or TPR. That's another one in there, I think. Just basically separate them with commas and make sure the commands are set as strings, which means they're inside of quotation marks. Automatically give players their items back after leaving if running auto kit. Now if you're running basically if you're running the kits plugin and it automatically gives a player, so if a player dies and it automatically re-kits them with a new starting kit, you want to make sure this is set to true, otherwise players' items can potentially be deleted when they leave the event. This event shouldn't happen because realistically a player shouldn't die, but if they run into like barbed wire or something like that, then yeah, it is possible. This is the price table, so it is actually quite customizable with the item descriptions and details you can put in. So this one actually allows you to put in custom items as well. So for example, if you wanted to have like a treasure casket from my fishing treasure plugin as one of the rewards, you can set the short name and the skin and the display name and everything else to be the same. But by default we have scrap, wood, stones, sulfur and potatoes, which actually has a custom name for absolutely no reason besides the fact that it shows you that you can do it. That's just simply the name that players see when they left click on the item. And then it has a minimum and maximum quantity, so the plugin will simply pick a value between these two numbers and give the player that quantity of items that you've designated here. Arena setups. So make sure your entity combinations and the arena names are unique. So very important, you want to make sure any arenas that you have on here. So I have 3 by default. One was made by a friend of mine called Warehouse Arena, which he has listed on CodeFleet currently. Sewer Arena and Desert Arena. Sorry, Warehouse Arena and Sewer Arena come default. Desert Arena is one made by a friend of mine, which is currently listed. You can see here that you can have you can set them to false if you want to disable them from the list, so they won't be queued up. Otherwise, leave them as true. Anchor entity is the actual entity that I showed you in RustEdit, which is the 2 entity combinations in order to anchor these prefabs. So what the plugin does is it searches for the primary entity, searches for the secondary entity closest to it. If it's less than the predefined distance, it's going to mark this as the primary entity and then offset all of the teleport locations from this. So very important that these don't get changed unless you know exactly what you're doing. Anchor ID is more for the data side of things, but it's part of the class of lists on here. And then these are the free-for-all spawn locations, TDM spawn locations, and for both Team 1 and Team 2. So, again, not really much you can change here, but just kind of giving you an explanation around what they are. So I'm going to create another tutorial because I do have a tool specifically for creating spawn points that map or prefab creators can use to create zones and list them with full compatibility with this plugin. So I'll create another video with how that works. But that's all. That's it for the server owner side of things. It's super easy plugin to load. Just drop those maps, those arenas into the RustEdit under the map somewhere. Put the plugins on the server, and you are good to go. So. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave some feedback, any sort of requests, feature requests or whatnot. Feel free to put them on the page and I'll review them. And any sort of bugs, of course, bring to my attention as well. So, awesome. Thanks guys, enjoy.